Hello, gorgeous. It's Lala Kent. Welcome to Untraditionally Lala. Hey, babes. It's Lala Kent. Welcome to Untraditionally Lala. Oh my gosh, last week, what a vibe. So I had Amber Childers as my first guest on my Reinvented podcast. And I was so nervous because I was coming in and I'm like, okay, even though the podcast is being reinvented, like I'm still Lala. But there was something that happened that day where I don't want to say that I was in my head because it was actually quite the opposite. It was like for the first time doing that episode with Amber, I was not having an out-of-body experience. Like I felt very much in tune with myself, the conversation. And that is when I knew like, wow, this Reinvented podcast really is ringing true to who I am. And that was the best feeling in the world. And now you guys have been able to hear the episode and you've seen the new photo and the new name. And I'm really into the fact that you guys are into it because that is always like nerve wracking. You're like, okay, we're making a change, but like, am I going to like Cracker Barrel my ass off with this whole like thing? Like, is my stock going to plummet? Am I going to have to go back? Anyway, we don't even have to worry about it because it didn't end up that way. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for remembering me on our downtime. I want to start with, this is my first solo episode I've ever done, and I'm tripping balls. Like, I think the only time I've done something solo is when I do Amazon Live, but Easton's there, so I can kind of like, talk some shit. And I feel like I'm not talking at people. So just roll with me. This is new. It's just all new experiences. I had a really amazing and nerve-wracking experience last week. And before I jump into that, because I'm really excited to tell you guys about it. But today, my daughter, Ocean, is going to an eye doctor appointment. And what I've noticed is she's got, when she looks up, and it's only when she looks up, her eyes kind of go, and I don't want this to come across as mean. I love my daughter. She's stunning, but she starts looking like a lizard. And so I'm kind of freaking out because we went to one doctor and they were like, there's, nothing we can really do. You can do surgery if it bothers you, but unless, she's got vision issues, then like we wouldn't tell you to go and do surgery. And I'm like, I really at 4.5 years old don't want to have surgery for my daughter. She's young. But at the same time, if it's something that can't be fixed unless we do surgery, do I rock it until she says like, Mom, I want to do the surgery? They said doing it younger is the way to go. Like, I don't know, you guys. I know I'm probably being a nut job, but this is what I've been dealing with all morning. We'll see what this second doctor says about her eyes. I don't know what the actual medical term for the condition is. I call it a lazy eye, which is like layman's terms. My mom has one. It's genetic. Less than like 30% of people, which I guess seems like a lot. Maybe that's wrong. It's a very low percentage of people who were born with a lazy eye actually have someone a part of their family who inherits it. That's just what I've been told. I don't know. I'm no doctor. I'm no science person. I'm just listening to what I listen to and spewing it onto you. All right, let's talk about my experience because the past, I want to say, well, since Ocean was born, it's, 4.5 years, my life has taken a bit of a turn and I have to think about things that I normally wouldn't have to think about. And I started realizing how the stakes were much higher when my business manager called me and said, you have Ocean, we really need to get you life insurance. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I've seen 2020 where people kill people for life insurance. Like, why do I need it? No one's trying to kill me. It's much, much broader than that. So we're going through just all of these questions and the process of getting life insurance for myself in case something happens to me. And then Sos is born and we have to go back and do the whole bit again of like doing the blood tests, answering the questions. It's like a very long process to get life insurance. And then my eye situation appears, right? So for those of you who don't know, this was probably, I think it was in May, I noticed the slightest discoloration on my eye. And the color was like very like a faint butter yellow. Butter yellow is very in these days, right? But I'm not trying to have it on my fucking eye. I don't need my eye wearing butter yellow. Okay. Body, cool. Eye, not happening. And I Googled it and it said, this is basically the equivalent to a callus on your hand. Your eye, with just like the natural elements, will start forming what is called a pinguecula. And it's like a very slight yellowish discoloration. There's nothing you can do about it. And I'm like, all right, sexy, fine, whatever. This was probably a few months before I went to the optometrist in May. They tell me, not to worry about it at my initial appointment. But I'm starting to notice that this faint yellow spot is now having like these bright red veins going right to it. And I'm like, that looks not right. This looks like these veins may be feeding this pinguecula. I hate that fucking name, by the way. It's so every time I say it, I'm like, ugh, it gives me like the ick, kind of like moist. It's like pinguecula. Ugh, vomit. So I'm lumifying my ass off. That's working. But then it starts to get raised and it almost looks like a blister and it's bright red, but the actual pinguecula is like white. I go back into the optometrist. They're like, hey, we need to just give you a steroid. It's inflamed. I'm like, excellent. So I, at this point in time, am set to go to film a show overseas. I'm not going to say what the show is. You guys know it. I'm super excited, but I'm like, holy fuck. I can't be on camera with this shit on my eye. So I'm calling every doctor I possibly can to like get myself into surgery to remove it so I can go and film this show. In the meantime, I have Lindsay Hubbs hitting me up being like, I had this surgery. My eye's still red. I'm getting a lot of people in the DMs. And I apologize if you've heard this story already, but it leads to why I went and did what I did a couple days ago. So I text my friend who's like a grandfather to me, Robert Shapiro. I've known him for many years. He has hooked me up with a lot of people in the past. If it's, something that is urgent and I need it immediately, I call Bob. I said, I have this thing on my eye. I got to get it taken care of. He sends me to a specialist that he highly recommends. This guy is super hard to get into. He gets me in the next day. He takes one look at it, you guys, and says, that's not a pinguecula. That is pre-cancer. And I would like you to go to another specialist who's also very difficult to get into, just to make sure. Maybe she does a biopsy. The next day, they get me in. She takes one look at it. She was like, he wants me to biopsy it, but I don't need to biopsy it because I know what it is. It's pre-cancer, and we're going to be starting you on 5-FU drops, which are chemotherapy drops in the eye. And I told her, well, girl, I got to be out of here in a few weeks. And she laughed at me and she was like, you're not going anywhere. You will be in this office every 2 weeks for the next 3 months. And after that, we're going to reevaluate. And if all goes as planned, the 5-FU will help. And then I'm going to see you every 4 months for the rest of your life. And I was like, excellent. Wow, this is really fucking weird. I asked her, like, what causes this? And she was like, honestly, it's bad luck. There are many people who are in the sun all the time. There are many people who are exposed to the natural elements of life, and they don't get pre-cancer in their eye. So, cut to where we are now. The pre-cancer is gone. The 5-FU drops worked beautifully. My body responded amazing. I had little to no side effects at all. But now I start tweaking out because I'm hearing about all of these people who, they had a headache or they had something on their arm and then it turned out to be something catastrophic. So for me, I was thinking, where did this thing in my eye, this pre-cancer, come from? Where did it start? Like I'm all about falling back when something makes sense. The whole, just bad luck, there's no reason, it doesn't work for me. Even though that could very well be the case, right? Again, I'm no doctor. So I reached out to Prenuvo. For those of you who don't know what Prenuvo is, they do MRI scans. They do it for your head. They also do full body. And because of this thing in my eye, I've been experiencing weird tingling sensations that go from the center of my head up to the top. I don't get headaches often, but I do suffer from migraines on occasion, which is why I also love Botox. I love it because it de-wrinkles my forehead and makes my forehead look like glass, but it also minimizes my migraines. So I was like, I got to get in just for peace of mind. And let's remember, I want to say that I live a pretty healthy lifestyle now. Like, it's well balanced. I exercise. I feel like I eat well. On occasion, I'll smack McDonald's. Like, who doesn't? But also, I have to remember what I did in my past. I was a heavy drinker back in the day. I was a vapor back in the day. And I just want to make sure that all of those things, although I don't do them now, have they followed me into 35? And there's just so many things that we talk about and hear about. It's like the microplastics. And then you hear about someone who lived such a healthy lifestyle and like dropped dead from a heart attack. I want to know what the fuck is going on in my body, period. I'm going to read this on here. A Prenuvo scan is whole body MRI scan that detects over 500 potential medical conditions, including cancers, cysts, aneurysms, often before symptoms even appear. So this is what I was told when I went in and they were walking me through it. They said the reason why cancer is such a terrifying word is because there's no symptoms. And by the time you catch it, you're in stage 3 or 4. So what if there was a machine that you could do once a year that could catch it before you hit those stages, where the survival rate is 90% plus? I like those odds. I'm not a gambler, but if you're telling me that you can put me in a machine once a year and look at every single thing in my body and then send me off to the races, knowing that my children will not have to use the life insurance that I've gotten for them, like, I want to do that. So I go in. The first question, though, you guys, they're like, so are you claustrophobic? I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know. What are you putting me in here? I've never done this before. Like, I don't think I am, but like, no one's putting me in small tubes on the reg. So I'm like, not really sure. Before we even start, or if you guys ever choose to do this, which I highly recommend, if you are claustrophobic, most definitely take like a beta blocker. And on the form with Prenuvo that they send you that you fill out, like, one of the first questions is, are you claustrophobic? If you are, they'll prescribe something to you at your pharmacy and all will be good. Let me tell you something. This place, this is what I'm going to rave about the most. They put Netflix on for me. I literally walk in, they're like, are you claustrophobic? I said, we're going to find out together. And they said, would you like Netflix? And I was like, Seinfeld is on Netflix, so that's going to be a fuck yeah for me. And the way that they lay you in there, I'm like, oh, this is totally fun. And like, I'm vibing. Oh no, bitches, just you wait. Because I'm like, this is how it is. They're going to shoot me through the tube. I'm going to have a heyday. Oh my God. They're like patting my legs. They've got something over my legs. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of nice. It moves to my thighs that they pat. And I'm like, all right. It's like a weighted blanket. We're fine. Then my stomach. And I was like, all right, now I'm starting to feel like I'm panicking. Then they put something over your face, your head, from here down to maybe like mid tit, maybe chest. I don't know, depending if you have fake boobs or not. And there's the smallest little hole at the top, you guys. And I was like, okay, La, you know what? You're a fucking bad bitch. This is where you're going to sit and you're going to, you preach all the time about like, if your mind is powerful enough to talk you into something, it's most certainly powerful enough to talk you out of something. So I'm actively talking myself out of claustrophobia. It was the most difficult thing I've ever fucking done. Because like, too late, man. They can't prescribe me something like at my pharmacy. We're here. Then they put this like mirror on top of it. So through the hole, there's a big screen TV in the back of you, and the mirror shows you Seinfeld. or whatever you want to watch. Highly recommend Seinfeld, because they put me into the thing, and in the headphones, you guys, they put me into the MRI machine. In the headphones, I'm like balls deep, ovaries deep in Seinfeld and just living my best life. They're telling me what to do, like breathe in, breathe out. It's a woman, like an AI character. Breathe in, breathe out, hold your breath. And there were a few times that I was so zoned out watching Seinfeld, I didn't fucking do it. I was chilling. I'm sure they were looking at my brain activity being like, this woman might be brain dead because there's not much happening, not much brain activity. He would come through, the guy like running the machine, he'd come through on the speaker and be like, hey, so we're just going to do that again. If you could just listen to the woman, she's going to tell you exactly what to do and you just have to follow exactly what she tells you to do. I'm like, you would think that's simple, right? You would think that's a simple thing to do. So I will say the overall of like, if you're claustrophobic, totally easy. If you get claustrophobic, take a beta blocker. They have 22 locations, Prenuvo does. And they have said that their goal is to have they want it in every major city so that no matter where you are in the United States, there's one that you can drive to. And I loved this. Because when I was talking to, I guess, the tech, she was so kind, but she was like, if you think about it, when you go into a doctor, you're allotted, let's just say an average, give or take, of 7 minutes. They have 7 minutes per patient. And you in that moment are a statistic to them. Now, doctors do great work. I don't want to dismiss what doctors do for us. Like, I'm all about science and all of the things, but she put it so perfectly. You at 35 years old, Lala, you go into a doctor and you say, I'm having something going on in my head. I'm concerned. Tell me what you're feeling. I'm feeling this. I'm concerned that I may have something going on in my head. Tumor, whatever words you want to place in there. They're immediately going to say, from her chart, she's 35 years old. She doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. They're going to say, statistically, this is a healthy human. The likelihood of her having a brain tumor is very low. They're not going to give you an MRI. It's basically like a prescription. A doctor prescribes you a pill. A doctor prescribes you an MRI. And those MRIs that you have done run upwards, and this blew my mind when she told me this, run upwards of $20,000, and they take 3 to 4 hours to do a full body MRI. Prenuvo has, the location I went to, they have 5 machines. The overall appointment, in total, was 70 minutes. I was in the machine for 45. So for context, I watched 2 episodes of Seinfeld and then the beginning stand-up part of like Jerry Seinfeld. That's how long the appointment while I was in the machine. And these full body scans at Prenuvo are $2,500. Now I know that everyone is going to hear that. I know that's a lot of money. That is not lost on me. If we're going to compare $2,500, no one needs to say to you, yes, this is what you need. I'm going to give you a phone number. You're going to call them, tell them that this is your doctor. I'll send over your paperwork. You literally pick up the phone, you call them, and you say, I want a full body MRI, no questions asked. You're there, right? You can get the scan, $2,500. I know it's a lot of money, but that compared to $20,000 plus to see what's going on in your body, there's nothing more important than your health. My mom has always said, without your health, you have nothing. You would have all the money in the world. You could be doing all of the funnest, most fantastic things on the planet. If you are not healthy, there's a really, really big problem, right? You can't live a happy life. So I don't know when it switched for me. I used to be in the mindset of keeping my blinders on and not knowing something. I'm better off because then I'll stress about it. But there's so many things that you could be feeling in your legs, your arms, your back, whatever it may be. And the tech was talking to me saying, you could be feeling something in your head and it has nothing to do with your head because your body, it's all connected. It's all firing to each other. And what this scan is going to do is get to the root of the problem. And, me thinking about my health, I think most people that listen to this podcast, we have loved ones, we're parents, we think about, what life would be like if we weren't here anymore. At least I do since I had children. And I have a very, as you guys know, untraditional household. I have a 4-year-old Ocean with somebody. She has a dad. It's very not normal, but I had her the old fashioned way. And then Sosa, who was conceived via donor. If something were to happen to me, you guys, I'm not going to get emotional. I'm going to keep my head on straight and breathe. If something were to happen to me, and I thought about this while I was doing my life insurance as well. Ocean has a dad, so we know where she would go. And there is a very high possibility, because I don't trust the other side, and the other side probably doesn't trust me, and that's fine. It is what it is. There's a high possibility that my brother, my mom, and Sosa, Ocean's sister, would never see Ocean again. Till, she was old enough to reach out. That would be a possibility. And that's something that has always weighed heavy on me. And I've put in paperwork, if something happens to me, there needs to be a significant amount of money that goes to my family, not just to take care of them, but if they need to fight for Ocean, they have the means to do so. Sosa, I know this sounds horrible. If I weren't here anymore, this is so morbid. I'm sorry that I'm even going here, but I think it's important to talk about because we all need to be on our game and have a plan B. I live by a plan B. Sosa, I worry less about. Because if something were to happen to me, I know that she is in the best of hands. She's got my mom, she's got my brother. But the real reasoning for me going into pre-nuvo was to know that God forbid I have something going on, which I don't have the results back yet. I will be able to get a hold of it before it's too late. And if everything goes to shit for real, I just want to know what's going on so that my girls are going to have each other. I know that sounds so dark, but that's where my mind goes when I think about things like this. So that's where my mind goes. And I'm sorry that I got maybe a little too deep and dark and a little morbid, but that's just the way my perspective and life and outlook have shifted since having kids. And I know I'm not the only one who looks at life this way. I really, really do take, I like to think, great care of myself. My kids are my number one priority, and I live and breathe for them. They're the besides my sobriety, because without my sobriety, I wouldn't be able to do any of the things I do. But they're the proudest thing that I have ever done in my life. And without me taking care of myself, everything is just kind of going to fall apart. And I do, when people ask me, when they say, how do you balance? How do you prioritize? And that's not always easy. And I understand that, it's hard when we're waking up and taking care of kids, making lunches, doing drop off. You could fit time before all of that to go work out, but who wants to fucking do that? Or this sounds like so much fun, you guys. After the longest day of taking care of everybody else, then you go work out. I'm not trying to fucking do that either. It's a lot. The balancing act, you are seen. I am with you. There's got to be a version of us being able to be present for our families and also taking care of ourselves. So I'm going to be totally honest, when the clock hits a certain point at night, and my daughter Ocean, who still sleeps with me, you guys, and last night she was moving all over the bed, and I was like, that's it. Tomorrow night, she's going in her own bed. We're going to start sleeping in our own bed. And I had a moment of pause going, if I put her in her own bed, that's another phase of life that has just closed that will never come back. And then, of course, I cry because that's just who I am. And I'm like, okay, we're not putting her in her own bed because I'm going to miss the moving around. I'm not ready for that phase to close. We'll just wake up and look tired and puffy every day. Like, I don't give a fuck, right? We'll look hot at some point again. Today's not the day. Tomorrow won't be either. We've got makeup. Fuck it. So Ocean sleeps with me, but there are times where she'll get out of bed. Like, I don't want to say strict, but I like my routine. I'm a Virgo. If the wind blows in a direction that I was not planning, I panic. So I remember saying to my mom the other day, because she was like, we're going to bake cookies. I go, it's 5:30. And my mom goes, ooh. I was like, I'm such a fucking square. But I said that because I'm like, you're telling her you're going to bake cookies. She still has a plate of food. You're going to spend the next hour trying to get her to eat that. And now you've promised, this is putting us at the 7:00 hour. I'm panicking because that's going to infringe on mom time. I like to get my kids, Sosa's in bed by 6:30. Okay. And I've taught her, she's a year old. I've taught Sosa, I'm going to say this and then she's going to regress and it's going to be a fucking nightmare, but it's okay. We roll with the punches. She will sit in her crib and talk to herself for like 20 minutes before she goes to bed. I'm cool with it. She needs her alone time, right? That's Sosa's time. Ocean is obsessed with watching sharks murder things. That's how she likes to go to bed. We get in bed at 7. Enjoy. Watch the shark fuck up this person. I don't know. Like, if that's what puts you to bed, this is Ocean time. And guess what? Once those two things are done, it is mommy time. If Ocean gets out of that fucking bed and comes in and asks me for anything, I tell her, mom's off the clock. My day's done. I'm no longer mom anymore. I love you so much. I adore you. Get in the bed. But I'm hungry. Kitchen's closed. Kitchen's closed. Mama's closed. Everything that you need right now is closed except for that fucking bed and the shark attacks that you're watching. Those are open. Go for it. Have a heyday. I'm trying to teach her to also take time for herself. It's been a long day. She's in preschool. That finger painting is no fucking joke. Take time for yourself. Mom time is so important. I will sit in the bath and literally stare into the oblivion, thinking about, for me, thinking about a lot. I need to work on meditation, clearing the mind, thinking about everything I've ever done wrong in my life, saying the serenity prayer 27 times to get me out of the funk. But I really do feel like we, as moms especially, we suffer from that mom guilt where we feel like we have to be on for everybody 24/7. My kid's upset and doesn't want to go to bed. Get the fuck to bed. It is mom time. And I think if you start there, it always starts at home. Home is your safe space. You're supposed to feel comfortable. You're supposed to feel like you can take a load off. The pressures of life are so high. You got to, worry about the husband and feeding and doing whatever it is that he fucking needs. We are put on the back burner. Stress, you guys, is the number one killer of all of us. I believe stress is what took my dad at the age of 64. I believe that stress, it's fact. It causes ulcers. It puts a tremendous amount of stress on your heart. And I am a stressor. So when people look at me and they're like, Lala's a square, she goes to bed at like 7. I have to. My health is very, very important to me. I want to be present. I want to be on my fucking game. I want to try to look my best. Doesn't always happen, but who cares? And you have to sit and prioritize yourself in moments that you feel like it's just too much. I used to watch regular TV where you would have ads. And I remember this woman, I think it was like a Milano's cookie ad, and she was sitting in the bathroom and she had the door locked and there's kids banging on the door. And I was like, this is like such a freaking weird ad. Like, who would ever eat Milano cookies next to a toilet? Me now. Me. That's what I do. I eat Milanos next to the fucking toilet just to get one little bit of just woo-saw time. And I hope with this scan, this Prenuvo scan, when it comes back, that we're in the clear, right? I think my biggest thing that I'm concerned about, which is wild because I was talking to you guys, for those of you who watch The Valley, Zach Wickham, his boyfriend is an optometrist. And I was talking to him about the eye situation. And I was like, I'm just worried. Like, where did it come from? Is something going on in my head? He was like, I really don't think one has anything to do with the other. So after this Prenuvo scan, I would say my two biggest things that I'm concerned about. One is my head. I don't know why I would be having tingling sensations, cooling sensations. I want to know what's going on there. The next would be I'm extremely concerned about the level of stress and pressure that I put on myself and how it has manifested itself inside of my body. That's the second thing that I'm really very much concerned about. And the third, I would say, is the C word, because cancer runs in my family. And the women in my family have been older when they've gotten that diagnosis. But my grandmother on my dad's side passed away from cancer, and my grandmother on my mom's side passed away from cancer. So those things scare me. And keep in mind, you guys, I go and get my ultrasounds on my boobs. And anybody who tells you we do mammograms after the age of 40, I want you to fight for yourselves and advocate for your health. Get in there. If you don't do a mammogram, then what do you do for a woman of my age? I want to say they're going to give you an ultrasound. And I remember at the age of 14, my grandmother was diagnosed with my aunt was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was terrified that I had breast cancer. You guys, I was 14 and I went in to get an ultrasound on my boobs. It wasn't a lump that I was feeling. It was breast tissue because I was getting my tiggled bitties. Lucky for me, right? But I was concerned. Advocate for your health. You don't have anyone else to do it. I am going to have a discount code that Prenuvo was nice enough to give to my listeners and to my followers. I will post that. You can go onto their website and you can see all of the locations that they have. I also didn't realize that these machines, you guys, cost $1.3 million. They are insanely high tech. They're state of the art. They're brand new. A lot of hospitals that you go to, y'all, that I just realized, they bring in the machinery, the MRI machines, and they actually build the hospital around those machines because you can't get them through the fucking door. So these machines that other hospitals are using, they could be 20 years old because you just can't bring in new machines, whenever you want. Prenuvo, I highly recommend. I'm very nervous. I should have my results back in just a couple of days. I'll keep you guys updated on what is said. But I think my main thing with this podcast, beyond just prioritizing yourselves and making yourself someone who has a voice. It's so easy to lose our voice in this world. We find it so much easier to just shut up. We find it so much easier with all of the information that's so accessible at all times to kind of shut down. I feel like we're all running on autopilot. And I get it. It's a lot. But I'm hoping with this podcast that we can take a moment to say, you know what, I'm going to advocate for myself. When someone tells me no and I think something is wrong, you better than anybody else, better than any doctor. When something is not right. And if you go to a doctor and they're giving you an answer that just does not sit right in the tummy, please make that known, because I want everyone to catch things before it's too late. We've seen, Teddy Mellencamp, who has been advocating, and she single-handedly changed the dermatologist game. I said that on an episode, I want to say a few months back, I went to the dermatologist because I've also been obsessing over that, where I'm like, there's a freckle popped up. What the fuck is this? And he's like, you're fine. I just saw you last week. And I told him, I was like, Teddy is a friend of mine. And I'm just like, she's out here and she's being a voice. And he said, let me tell you something about Teddy Mellencamp. She has single-handedly changed the dermatology game and beyond. And I just found that I sent her a text and I was like, you don't have to respond to this, but I find it important for you to know that while you're in the fight for your own life, how many lives that you're saving. I'm so sorry. So I found it very important to talk about my experience with Prenuvo. I know that we hear the $2,500 and we lose that is a lot of fucking money. And I know we all work so hard for our money. I highly, highly encourage you guys to make it a priority. Prioritize yourselves. I know that we all get caught up in life and it becomes very intense, and sometimes not knowing we think is better than knowing. And I really want to break that. My mom lives in this world of like, everything's fine, mind over matter. And I'm trying to break that cycle with my mom as well. I don't know if that's a generational thing, but I'm like, no, like she hadn't had a mammogram, I want to say in 10 years. And when I heard that, my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, what are you doing? So if you're not doing it for yourselves, do it for the people who love you. Wow, I did not expect that. I'm really sorry. Because we like you around. So I'm going to post the discount code. Use it. Take advantage of it. Prenuvo is so excited to be getting the word out. I am very hopeful that they're going to have locations in every major city, so it's accessible to everybody. And I find that to be a very, very beautiful thing. I'm very excited about what they're doing. And isn't that crazy? Other things used to excite me, right? Like a new handbag, maybe like some cubic zirconias from Bloomingdale's. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, Prenuvo MRI machines are going to be in every major city. Oh, I am a square. And I'm only 35 and I feel like I act like I'm 90. But mentally, I feel 21. Anyway, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I love you. Prioritize yourselves. Go love on yourselves. If you ain't doing it for you, do it for the people you love. I'm going to catch you for a bonus on Monday and then again next Wednesday. Love you guys. Bye.